Morning, everyone. So I wanted to say a few words about our last three priorities, so technology, data, and security. And last year we talked a little bit about our journey to refactoring some of our tech debt, some of our monolithic code bases into software services that are reusable to help drive developer speed. And this year we've gotten a lot more structured about that, and you saw this slide from Brad. First, we went back to say, what are our customers? Who are our customers? Consumers, small businesses, and accountants. What is the ideal state customer benefit for each of those customer segments? So things like taxes are done or ready for review. Accounting is done. Bills are done. More money, more time. And then we said, what are the strategic capabilities that we require to efficiently implement all those customer benefits? And what are the services underneath each of those strategic capabilities, and defined those and came up with a framework that you see here. And then what we've been doing is redirecting our services journey to develop these software services to accelerate our developers to align with this framework to make it as efficient as possible. And what I'd like to do is talk about a couple of those to give you a flavor. First one being acquisition of data to feed our applications and to make our customers' lives easier. As you might expect, data is the lifeblood that feeds our entire ecosystem of products. And there's data that flows between the products, and there's data that flows into the products from third parties and out of the products into third parties. So for example, bills and invoices need to come in so that we can pay them. Transactions need to come in so that we can feed our accounting applications. Tax documents need to come in to help people fill out their tax returns. And then we need to share a lot of that data with third parties. And we also take customer telemetry and use that to help guide customer experiences so that they can have the most easy flowing experience to get through and accomplish their goal. Now, one of the most important areas within that is the acquisition of data to feed our products. And so we've had over the last several years a pretty substantial investment in acquiring that data to feed those products. So first is in image and OCR, so that people can take out their phone and take a picture of, if, let's say, a tax document like a W-2, and we can zone that correctly even though they're formatted differently from different payroll providers, extract the data from it. Where appropriate, compare that data with other data sources we have to ensure correctness, and then populate the customer's tax return with that data automatically. Tax data access electronically is another area of investment where we go and actually work out agreements with various different parties to get those tax documents in. So again, they can automatically feed into the tax return, be that a pro return or a TurboTax return. And then also to feed accounting, so be that QuickBooks or Mint, transaction access from banks and FIs and then taking those transactions and categorizing them to make it easy to do your accounting. So where we are in this right now is we have some 500 million tax documents that we're able to ingest every year to feed our tax products. And so that actually gets to most forms, most tax documents for most customers towards this goal of taxes are done. And then in accounting, we have we aggregate some 75 million transactions a month. We pull those from some 20,000 financial institutions and then automatically categorize that to feed into your accounting application to make that job easier towards accounting is done. So that just gives you a flavor of one of the strategic capabilities that we have, one part of it, which is acquisition of data to feed our products. So next I'd like to talk a little bit about security and fraud. The underpinning for all of this is our data stewardship principles. So we hold ourselves accountable to these. They're very simple and easy to understand so that all of our engineers and product managers and designers can adhere to them. The customers actually give us access to this data on their behalf for their purposes, not for our purposes. And so we want to make sure we hold true to that. We want to make sure we guard their privacy. We want to make sure we guard the data that they've given us stewardship over. We agree that we will not sell their data without permission in any way that can be re-identified back to the customer. And we will use the data to help simplify the business of their financial life and make their flow through our products easier. So security is designed carefully into everything that we do. And we've made a lot of progress on that over the last few years. It's something that we invest heavily in mind share and in dollars, and that's embedded in every one of our teams. And if you look at some of the things that we've done, a couple of examples of that would be pushing multi-factor authentication in a fairly sophisticated form across all of our products. And as a consequence of that, we've been able to reduce account takeover by bad guys by about 85% year over year. And one of the reasons, by the way, that we're able to push that out quickly across all of our products is that the Intuit identity system, including all the mechanisms for user experience, account, and all the mechanisms to tie into third-party data sources, our own first-party data sources, to try to identify whether some information that's coming in is from a bad guy or from a good guy. We were able to leverage that because it was a reusable software service and push that out across all of our products very quickly. So that aligns with the software services journey that I was talking about earlier. One of the other things that we did is we put some 30 new security features into TurboTax this year, and that has helped tremendously as well. So at a higher level, we actually do partner with government and with the rest of the tax industry to minimize fraud. And what we've done in working with those bodies over time is to help identify what are indicators of fraud and make sure that every year we package more and more of that information, as do our competitors in the tax space, so everybody is providing the same information to federal and state government so that they can better, with their fraud detection tools, flag who are the bad guys and who are the people who need to be paid out their refunds promptly. As a result of this, the federal government has reduced the amount of fraud payout by over $1 billion. So again, we do have this framework now that helps center all of our efforts around services. And that really does help with developer speed. We're seeing in some areas where people have adopted services up to a 10x improvement in developer speed, which goes to how innovative we can be and how responsive we can be to our customers' needs. It also goes to, with where we have services that are shared, that means that it is much easier for us to build workflows that go between our products and data flows that go between our products. And it also means that it is easier for us to create workflows and data flows that go between our customers. So a word about both of those. So we do have, as Brad mentioned before, this ecosystem of products, and getting that ecosystem to work effectively together to serve our customers is a key goal for us going into the future. An example of that would be we pay many millions of customers through our payroll tool. And what we want to do is to, and we've started to have great success with, is make it very easy for the people who get a paycheck through the Intuit payroll system and whose W-2 we actually produced, to make it much easier for them to do their taxes in our tax systems. So we're starting to invite those people to use our tax systems and actually push their W-2 directly into their tax experience to make that an easier transition towards the goal that we talked about earlier of taxes are done. Another example would be the indispensable connections. So we have a lot of customers of QuickBooks who invoice other customers of QuickBooks, and customers of QuickBooks who invoice customers of Mint. And so how do we make those e-invoice, e-pay, and customer buyer interactions much more fluid and much easier with zero data entry, one click on both sides, than we ever have before? So that's a very fast-growing segment, and we're building out more and more capabilities in each of those products to make that process simpler, more easy-flowing, so that invoicing is easier, so that people pay faster, so that cash flows get better. Another example would be consumer data going into tax. If you're a Mint customer, of course, we have access to your accounts through your permissions, and with that access, we can actually obtain, in many cases, the 1099s and 1098s that are associated with those accounts and feed those directly into either ProTax or into TurboTax. So that's an example of consumer data into tax. And then when you look at small business data going into tax, that's usually about the transactions. So CC mentioned the machine learning that we're doing and accounting assistance to correctly take all of your transactions, categorize them right, and have them end up correctly on your Schedule C to vastly simplify the process of creating a business tax return. So those are just a few examples of areas where we're starting to get true leverage from the ecosystem of products that we have, the interacting ecosystem of customers that we have, and our services reimplementation, which is facilitating making these interactions go much, much more easily. So with that, let me hand this over to Neil to talk about our finances.